you feel angry at the way you're being treated by whomever, by society, by people you date, whatever the case is, I'm just going to say it. Being angry is not a personality disorder. It's just you taking back your power in the only way our dating culture, has taught us to. And, there's good reason to be angry. Now, I mean, was it a lovely scene? No, I think we both can agree that we have two emotionally fragile, damaged, people who've had negative experiences sort of talking at each other in this right. interaction. This is not an emotionally mature conversation. But, how many of us are? I mean, it's real. Like, how many of us are emotionally mature?
Right. Or even if you're good at, even if you're good at doing it in your therapist's office, can you do it in the moment when that happens? Like, that's the real test, right? Like, when you're, I hate using the word triggers because it's so overused and created, but when any sort of thing from your past is activated and you feel yourself rolling down towards where you normally do, playing out your wounds, playing out your shadows, whatever you want to call it, right? Can you stop that ball from rolling and come back into the present moment, like right then and there? And of course, until you get really good at it, and there's still going to be times where you roll down that path again and again, because you're never going to be perfect at it. But it's like, that is the test of emotional maturity, is being able to recognize when that ball starts rolling and being able to put a stop to it. And it's hard to do because the ball is rolled your entire life. And it's much easier to Sunday morning or Monday morning quarterback it and go back and say, see, they're playing out their past wounds and they should have done this and they should have done that. But I'm like, he who is without sin, throw the first stone, right? Like, I do not by any means want to say that I've perfected this, and I totally understand how it happens. And I think the reaction of, like, Theodore being like, I don't really know what's going on. I'm feeling activated. I need to get out of here. Like, let's just call it a night. Honestly, even though it's kind of crushing to Olivia Wilde's character in the sense that it's like, you're pre-doing the thing that she was afraid of you doing. Like, you're kind of just automatically fulfilling the prophecy instantly. But at the same time, if you don't know how to stop whatever train wreck is happening from happening, pausing and getting out of there is not the worst solution either. And so it's like, I also don't blame him for being like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's coming up with me. Maybe we just, like, pause this, and regroup.
Well, and I was going to ask you, I was going to ask you that question. Like, so Theodore, at that moment where she's like, hey, you're not just going to fuck me and leave, he could have done one of two things, right? So he sort of pulled back and said, whoa, I think we need to stop. But he could have lied too, right? And said, no, I'm not one of those guys. I mean, it probably wouldn't have taken much to push the Olivia Wilde character into believing that he was a nice guy, that he was different somehow. I mean, she wanted to believe that. That's why she asked.
Yeah.
And again, not that I'm trying to praise his character or anything. I mean, but was, in your mind, I'm curious from a woman's perspective, what was he more mature? Was it better that he was like, hey, this is too much, versus what if he had just lied and said, no, you know what, I do want to. Absolutely, I'm with you. I'm not one of these guys. I'm not like the other guys. Like, which is better from your perspective?
Yeah.
And then he goes through. They have sex, and then he ghosts her. Right? He never responds again. Which is, what's your thoughts?
I think it's so hard because I think there's a couple things here where Olivia Wilde saying, like, you're not just gonna fuck me and then ghost me. I don't think that necessarily means she's ready to get married. I don't think that's her saying, like, hey, we're gonna be boyfriend-girlfriend, right? I think that's just her being like, you're not going to, like, up and leave. Like, we're having an intimate connection. We'll at least, like, talk again, maybe go on a second date and then see where it goes. That's a very normal reasonable request to be like, hey, this isn't a one night stand, right? Like, I'm okay if we don't end up together in a month, but if we're gonna have sex, I'd like some sort of reassurance that I'll hear from you. And so I think there's a little bit of that that's like, okay, if his gut reaction is like, oh, she's wanting like an insane commitment, I'm like, that I think is reading too much into what she's saying. But in the like what's better or worse, I also don't necessarily think, like, even though we did hear Joaquin Phoenix tell the OS Samantha, yeah, I did just want to fuck her, it's like, would he have just fucked her and then never messaged her back? I would like to think that maybe he would still have like had sex, and even knowing that like this isn't a perfect match and it's not really what I want, like we can still date casually and not have totally ghosted her. Like, I do think there's a middle road there that's like, I think the ideal response would be, what do you mean by that? Like, truly, when you say you're not just gonna ghost me or you're not just gonna leave, right? Like, what does that mean when you say that? Like, what kind of commitment are you looking for? And what do you need to hear from me to feel comfortable? Would be ideal. But if we, and I think that there is some weird middle way to kind of do that without him either saying, like, no, I don't want to do this, or yes, let's do it, and then lying and ghosting. So it's like there is a world wherein they just date casually and then break up in a month and it's no harm, no foul. But I do think if the options are, okay, if they did have sex, he wasn't going to message her back and it was just going to be ghosting her again, versus calling it before that happens, I would rather someone call it, just because it's like, it's an intimate thing, and she wouldn't have brought up not wanting to be ghosted if she really didn't care. So I'm kind of like, yeah, if you know that you're not really going to want to talk to someone, don't lie. Just don't do that. I think that's just like a yucky thing to do all around. And if you don't know what someone wants or needs in a situation, you don't know, and you can't be held responsible for like someone else not owning their needs. However, if someone is actively making those needs known and then you kind of hide your reaction to it just to get what you want, that is manipulation. That it is just kind of manipulation. So I think if those are the two options, telling her we should call it a night was the right thing to do. But I would like to think that there is a third option that is, they have sex, break up amicably, not a big deal. They're both consenting adults. It happens all the time. Like, also, I think her saying that was like this jump in seriousness, and then him having this like, he kind of took what she said to another jump in seriousness. And it's like, whoa, we just went from like casual fun time to this is a serious thing.
Right.
And
I don't know, it was like 0 to 100, right? Just boom. It was
so quick, yeah.
But that does happen. Like, I don't feel like it was some exaggerate. I mean, I really do genuinely feel like this was a truly like, I mean, just an average date, possibly. You know? I mean, I think it probably happens, thousands and thousands of times every single day. This scene is probably played out in some form or another. And, it is interesting because, the Olivia Wilde's character knows both what she wants sexually, and, and as evidenced by the instruction, hey, do this instead of that with your tongue, sort of thing, not so much tongue, and emotionally. And again, while I think there was an immaturity perhaps in how she brought it up, and the way she communicated it and the way it came through, I mean, the sentiment, the desire, if you will, behind that is don't use me and ignore me. Like that's really, and perhaps her directness on both of these counts, right? Both what she wants and, from a physical and an emotional perspective, I might argue that threatens Theodore's view of his fantasy of a woman who exists solely for his comfort, which I think a lot of guys maybe have that on some level, that view.
And if we think about the scene where he learns that Samantha is talking to like 8,000 other people at once and is in love with 600 of them, that's the thing that crushes him. And it's like, on one hand, I get it. Like, no one wants to be cheated on if you're being, and it feels like cheating. But also it's like, couldn't actually have been physical cheating. Not that emotional cheating is not cheating, but I don't know. I think there's a connection there, right? That it's like, you're not just mine. You're not just mine. And it's like, it's a computer. It's an operating system. It was never just yours, you know? And also there is this thing of like, and even if it was just your operating system, a real woman is always herself's. She always is her own before she is yours. And Samantha is the only woman that he would ever have that is not her own first, that is just his. And learning that she was in love with 600 other people, it's like, oh, you're not just mine. Even in the mythological way that a AI could be just mine and exist just for me and my comfort. And I think, too, with Olivia Wilde's character, both knowing what she wants sexually and emotionally, it dissolves this boundary of like, oh, well, a woman who is empowered in her sexuality shouldn't care about attachments, right? It's like, you're either the type of woman who can have casual sex and doesn't care, or the type of woman that wants to get married and have kids and be the perfect wife and mother. There's no in between. And it's like, wait, you want to have sex and know what you want sexually, but you also want an emotional connection and some sort of reassurance? How do you want both? It's like, because she's a human being. That's how. As opposed to this, like, oh, there's the women you fuck and the women you marry. And I had thought you were the woman you fuck, and then you said this thing that's like, okay, well, now I'm confused. Because I thought you were just the woman you fuck. And now you're saying if we fuck, you want more.
Right, he wants a woman he wants a sexually available but emotionally undemanding. You know, the cool girl, right, who never asks for commitment. And when the date reveals she is a real person with real needs, she becomes the villain, at least in his story. And what's interesting to me is how my initial viewing of this made her the villain in my story as well. And that's what's the most fascinating thing to me. What did that say about me? What did I take in? You know, I notice it, and I don't feel that way anymore. But that initially came up, which just again shows the conditioning. And I think there is this contrast between Olivia Wilde's character's neediness compared to Samantha's perfect compliance, right? By comparison, Samantha is super easy. Her literal raison d'etre is to serve Theodore. He is the center of her world, and you know, at least at this stage in their relationship in the movie,
right?
She seems to love it that way, right? And really, Olivia Wilde's character committed the sin of not being the cool girl. She wanted an emotional connection and not just an orgasm. And for that, she became Theodore's villain, essentially. And you know, again, I mean, when I first watched it, my villain. Like, it's just, again, fascinating to me that what is it that makes me, and not us, makes me have that initial thought. And it is just this construct that we've put together as to what the perfect woman is, right?
Yeah.